a sneeze. I'm getting shot at woman, I just can't breathe. It to rise up, hear them turn up. One photo you want me whole system, I come mash up.
When you touch me, and you tease me, girl, you got me burning up inside. When you touch me, tease me, tell me, caress me, girl. When you touch me, and you tease me, girl, tell me, and caress me, when you touch me.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Explicit, boy.
Okay, then. So we're back with more Activated Mornings right here on the Clean Fresh Sound. Who's we? Roleza and Dianna. And we're supposed to have Mr. Kingsley the Freitas with us at this time to give us his usual morning commentary. So, Kingsley, bring we. Kingsley, if you're listening and you're planning to call us, now is the time to do so. Usually, really, as Roleza says, he's usually on the ball. So let's wait and see. All right. I believe if we haven't heard from Kingsley by now, then we're not going to hear from Kingsley for now. So we're going to move into our own topic. Now, before we go into our topic of discussion, there is something that I genuinely want us to have a discussion on. I don't know when that will be, but I'm putting it out there so that when the time comes, you will be ready. So I think this stemmed off of something we were discussing the other day, or some topic or the other that came up. And I wanted to know what it was like for Vincentians when you moved to another country to live. Because obviously things are going to be different. The weather, the food, the language, all sorts of things. I genuinely want to know what it is like for you when you move, whether it's to a regional country, some of the things that hit you, whether it's a cultural shock or, something of the sort, if it's in the region or internationally. What was it like for you when you first moved away from home to go and live somewhere else? Because I've never lived anywhere else. So I genuinely want to know how I want to feel, right? Okay.
I suppose I could give my experience because I had lived I studied in Trinidad for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think initially before going down, I was scared in a sense to go to Trinidad because one of the things that you note in the news,
Mm-hmm.
you're always hearing of, the negative, the crime, and to some extent you can randomly become a victim of crime. And the persons were talking about the racism, how Indians didn't like Black people, and they'd let it be known and that sort of thing. But I never put myself in a situation or position where harm could come to me. So I was okay, right? In terms of the safety aspects, I was okay. The interesting thing, though, I actually found that the Indians were a lot more warm and receptive to me than the Black people. Listen, some of the Black people, they used to give me some attitude sometimes, right? I don't know if it was Black person to Black person, but I found that, especially when it came to customer service in a lot of these stores, that the Indians were a lot more friendly and a lot more receptive. I would never forget, though, there was one time I was waiting for they call it maxis. I would say van, but they're waiting for a maxi. And it was in the evening. It was approaching night. So an Indian was standing by the bus stop, and I said, good night. And he's like, oh, you're not from Trinidad? So I was like, no. And I said, why do you ask so? Why? He said, because you have manners. And I had to laugh. And I just said, you know what? I am not going to engage this man in conversation with regards to this. I would just leave it alone. But it's always something that stood out to me because I was so young at the time, I guess his perception or his view was that, persons from the Trinis love to use the word small islands, and it just rubbed me the wrong way because I don't know if they realize that they are just as a small island as well. But there's this, I guess for him, there was this view that, the people from these small islands had were a lot more friendly, approachable, and so forth. And I also lived in Tobago for a month because I did an internship in Tobago, and Tobago felt more like home. It felt more like Vincy to me, and I could actually live in Tobago, like permanently. I could live in Tobago as opposed to Trinidad. But yeah.
How long is it the journey from Trinidad to Tobago?
To Tobago, well, I went both by plane once and by boat. I really can't tell. The plane was really short. It was it like 10 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah, it was really short. The plane that I went on, I think it was maybe like 10 minutes. I can't remember how long the distance was. The journey was on the boat, but yeah. Friendly, warm, receptive people. Yeah, I really and truly had no problems. No problems.
All right, nice. So that was Roleza's account, and we want to hear from others. Those of you living in Bermuda, and not calling any names. Those of you in America, those of you in Barbados, Grenada, St. Lucia, or any of the other islands of the Caribbean, or even if you're in South America, that'll be great. That'll be a great. I definitely want to hear about that, especially Vincentians who are living in non-English speaking countries, like George, who usually messages us on the live. You could tell us what it's like living in Puerto Rico.
All right, so we have
some callers.
That's okay. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Mason.
Morning. We all right, and you? Well, I know you're great because you got us. Right.
Yeah, I think you heard it before about going to
All
England.
right, Mr. Mason, you sound very low this morning. You could just project just a bit more, please. Yes, you do. And I turned up. All right, let's try again right here. Okay, go ahead for me.
No, as I said, when I arrived in England, my brother was there before.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, he said something a while ago about the Indian treating me better than the black people. The black people in England were terrible to black. Some were horrible. My brother and his wife had a small room. They lived in a Barbadian house. And my brother said to him, the landlord, my brother just arrived. I was looking for somewhere for him to live. And the landlord said, well, I'm sorry, he can't stay here. And the only place I could stay that night was in the small bedroom with my brother and his wife. Anyway, he said, all right, we can let him stay tonight, but tomorrow I'll get somewhere for him. That night I lied on the floor, my brother and his wife on the bed, and I cried, and I asked, why did I leave him? Honestly. Anyway, next morning I got up, my brother said he'll take me to look for a job. Jobs were plentiful in those days. You could start a job 8 o'clock in the morning, and if you didn't like it, by 10 o'clock you leave, and you just walk away and go and get another job.
Okay.
Anyway, I had a lot of pretty shirts from home, my patch shirts and so on. So I put one on in the morning. My brother asked me, what are you doing? I said, well, you stay taking me to look for a job. I put on this. So you're not putting on anything more? Well, I haven't got anything else. Fortunately, the bus stop wasn't very far from where he was living. He and I walked out to the bus stop. And I started shivering. Good simple on my hands. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. And the rest of it, as I said, I don't want to stay too long on the phone, but my first 6 months in England was horrible. It was. But then, as I said, I wrote back to my father, said, Daddy, I'm working for my package. Expect me home any day. I'm coming home. I don't like the weather. I don't like the people. I don't like the food. I said, I'm coming home.
Okay.
But 46 years after, I was still there.
Say that last part again?
Pardon?
No, what did you say? You said something. Well, you said 46 years later. You were...
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, just imagine me saying the first time that I want to come home. But, in the summer in England, in those days, it was love. beautiful. You see the lovely garden. We out there playing cricket until 8 o'clock at night. The sun still shining. So it was good.
Okay.
Okay.
But when the weather, you get to your front door and you have your keys in your hand and you can't turn the key, your fingers numb. You want to do a little wee-wee. You're there marking time in front of the door. You can't get, oh my goodness. Yeah. So, it's not to say, no matter I'll allow somebody else to get on anyway.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, you both have a good day. Take care, look after yourself.
All right, you as well. Thanks, Mr. Mason.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right, so that was Mr. Mason giving us a brief account of his time in England, and we have another caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Well, for me, it was a culture shock. Because I'd always thought about Bermuda, and I knew a bit about Bermuda because, I have a brother and a sister who lived here, and, we had close connections. As a matter of fact, my first wife and my second wife, they're both Bermudians. But now I only have one wife now, right? Okay, get that straight. I only have one wife. It was a culture shock. The food was different. Everything was different. And I was juggling between Bermuda and Canada. It would take me about 2.5 minutes to share 2 funny stories. Now, at home, when we dined, I knew how to use a knife and a fork. So when the table was set, there was a knife and a fork and a little spoon, like if you had dessert. Now, first time I went out to fine dining, I was faced with like 5 knives, 5 forks, and I didn't know what to do. So the smartness in me said, just look at the person next to you and take the cue from them. So that was easy. I got over that. Now, I remember the first time I ordered lobster. The only lobster I ever had was lobster from the river. And in front of me was a little bowl with a liquid inside there. I didn't know what it was. So I picked it up, I put it to my mouth, and I took a sip. And the thing was lemon. It was like lemon juice. Not wanting to be strange, I said, "Man, I love this juice." My ex-wife kicked me under the table. She said, "You idiot, that is not juice. That's for your fingers." So I stuck my finger in the bowl and licked my fingers. I got another kick. I didn't realize that was to freshen up your finger, because you're eating lobster. It's a messy job. Now here's the kicker. The chef came with the maitre d' to order. Everything was in French. So I ordered this stuff that looked good. The guy wheels up a trolley with a big fat steak. I look at the steak and the steak was raw. Raw steak. Then he had a Bluetooth. He lighted up set the steak on fire. I jumped up, I grabbed a jug of water and dumped
Joshua.
and shouted, "Fire!" And I was there looking all proud. And some people were laughing, and my wife loved to kick my first wife, that is. This one doesn't kick me at all. Sometimes I wish she'd kick me out of the house, but so I felt proud because I put out the fire, and here was this guy cussing at me in French. I didn't know much French then, and he was cussing at me because I messed up his thing. And so those are some of the funny experiences that I had. But now I could dine with Donald Trump.
Kings
I
and
could dine
queens.
with the man on the street and feel very much at home. But Bermuda was something else too. Now it's different because so many West Indians, Vincentians and so on, come to Bermuda, so the cultures mingle. But we're still very culturally different. There's certain things my wife would not eat, period. Like sauce, she tells me right out, I ain't eating no nose, no legs, no nose, no tail, nothing. But I really do enjoy it, living here now for 48 years. I have adjusted to the changes. And I understand when I go out with new people coming in, you know, I love to walk them through before, so they know what is what, you know, because we are culturally different. Let us keep that in mind. And that's my little rant for today.
All
All right, thanks, Joshua.
All right, lovely. I'm enjoying hearing of your accounts. Wonderful. I don't have any to give us yet. When I do give mine, then I will be giving mine. Okay.
I think sometimes one of the things to is just persons to be patient with a new setting, because you're not in the same environment that you've been used to. And also to know why it is that you're there. Clearly, if you left SVG to go to somewhere else, whether it's to study or to work or to live, you left here for a reason. And if you left with a particular goal in mind, in terms of maybe you wanted to have better pay or you just needed a change of scenery, just keep that reason in mind. And I think that is what would help persons to enjoy the acclimation to being in a new environment, you know? So, and I would encourage persons, I mean, as much as I would encourage persons to at least, even if it's for 6 months, to be able to just live somewhere else, right? Because I think sometimes persons who stay here, they have a sort of a myopic view of what the world is like. Yes, you can have an understanding from, let's say, the internet, etc. But experience traveling and living somewhere else, it opens your eyes up to so much more things that we don't have here in SVG. And I also see it from a business standpoint, where for me, persons always say, well, what business can I own here? And I say, have you traveled somewhere else? You know, and if you've traveled somewhere else, identify something that you see that's working overseas that you can probably bring home, so that you can be the first to maybe open that similar type of business. Of course, doing your market research and ensuring that you know that it would actually be profitable, etc. But sometimes that's just a little thing to see what works overseas, so that you can bring here and you can develop. So yeah.
Wonderful words of advice from the lady Roleza herself there. All right. I agree with that. I'm definitely going to keep that in mind, the advice about when you travel to other countries. Well, at least for a while. I have to admit, I do want to move. Initially, I love my country, and initially I didn't want to leave. I was like, I'm sentenced to the world. I ain't going nowhere. But Vincie, I want to go somewhere, okay?
But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, sorry, I'm not even trying to prolong this, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because if you're going overseas, and let's say you're going to make a way for yourself, home is home. You have somewhere to return to. But I for me, it's just being able to return to SVG with something, so that you could either come back to retire, or you could come back to set up a business, and you know, that sort of thing. But there's absolutely nothing wrong, especially when you're young. Go ahead and do it. I ain't running people out the country, but I can understand.
See. All right. So I think that we're going to have to end our session here. Wow. It is now 8:03, and in just a few minutes, we have our Cup Chat segment. So we're going to head out right now, and then we'll see you in a couple of minutes. All right.